Assalamualaikum. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For people who don't know me, my name is Ghazia Bushra and I love to talk. I can talk about anything and everything. But to be more specific, on this channel I will talk about books. I read the Russian literature for the very first time and I must say that I am not disappointed. तो मैंने पढ़ी है Zuleikha, written by Guzel Yakhina, which is a Russian book, and I read its English translation by Lisa Hayden. So इसका genre है historical fiction and the story is set in the 1930s. जब भी हम 1930s और रशिया का नाम सुनते हैं, so there is only one thing that should come in our mind: Stalin's era of repression. ये वो वक्त है जब रशिया में revolutions चल रही थी 2 दफ़ा, and it led to the civil war and then the cold war. During these times, the ones who were suffering were people. And that is exactly what this book is about. हम अपनी हिस्ट्री की बुक्स में वॉर के बारे में पढ़ते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि how the superpowers are reacting, what is happening in the military and in the government, but we never actually feel what the people are going through that time. War is something so different. It's not just a word. It's a fear of a mother that her child might get killed the very next moment. It is the fright of a father that his children might not get the next meal. It is the constant anxiety of women that they might get raped by any man walking down the street. It is the pain to see your loved one die in front of your eyes. Now multiply this suffering by 10,000 times, and that is what war is. So Guzel Yakhina in her book tried to make us feel what people were feeling, what the sufferings they had to go through. Quick summary: Zuleikha is a Muslim peasant woman who belongs from a Tatar village. She might have some Turkish origin generations before, but now she's living in a small village in Russia with her husband and mother-in-law. So Zuleikha is shown as a very weak and naive and oppressed woman who cannot decide for herself. तो वो ये भी decide नहीं कर सकती कि उसने आज खाने में क्या बनाना है without the permission of her husband and mother-in-law, who by the way are very abusive. Her husband Murtaza beats her all the time, and when he does that, her mother-in-law asks कि तुमने उसको सही तरह से मारा या नहीं, उसका दिमाग ठिकाने पे तो लगाया है ना तुमने उसको अच्छी तरीके से मार के. And guess what? Zuleikha doesn't say a word. Instead, she is grateful. She says that Murtaza is a wonderful husband because he has every right to beat me because he works really hard to put food on the table. I mean, Zuleikha is kind of suffering from the Stockholm syndrome. But little did she know that all her opinions are going to change when the communists come and kill Murtaza in front of her eyes. Communists kill Murtaza and send Zuleikha into exile to Siberia. So she is now on the journey to Siberia along with other 200 strangers. So for the people who know a little bit of geography, Siberia is one of the most coldest places on earth. It's called the pole of cold. वहाँ पे इन exiles को with summer clothes and little or no food and no shelter and extremely bad health conditions have to create a life. So this book is basically the story of survival. During these struggles and hardships, Zuleikha converts from the naive innocent girl into a strong woman who knows how to protect herself. It is an eye-opener for her that she has a right to select for herself, to do whatever she wants to do. She has a right to be loved, to be respected and to be appreciated, and she is beautiful and she needs no one to tell her that. The development of the character of Zuleikha is what makes this book a bestseller. अगर हम बात करें historical accuracy की, then this book is very much accurate because in the times of 1930s यही कुछ हो रहा था साइबेरिया में. Anyone who would disobey the communists were sent into exile to Siberia with the expectation that they might die in the extreme weather, and even if they survive, they are supposed to do the labor for the capital. जो peasants और farmers थे उनसे उनकी गंदम snatch कर ली जाती थी और उसको export कर दिया जाता था बाहर के मुल्कों में. भी कोई farmer या peasant protest करता था कि यार ये क्या कर रहे हो आप, पहले हमारे पास थोड़ी सी गंदम है और आप एक्सपोर्ट करी जा रहे हैं, हम क्या खाएंगे. So the communists would say, well, the communists didn't say anything, they just killed them. They were either killed or they were sent to Siberia, and that is exactly what happened with Zuleikha. She also belonged from a peasant family. Then continuously throughout the books, they are calling the exiles kulaks. Kulaks is an offensive word in the Russian language, which means the people who are disobeying the communists. So the military officials were constantly saying that we are dekulakizing these people by sending them into exile to Siberia, by just killing them and, starving them. गुज़ेल याखिना ने ये बुक अपनी ग्रैंडमदर की लाइफ से इंस्पिरेशन लेके लिखी है. She was also an exile in Siberia, just like Zuleikha. She also gave birth during the exile, just like Zuleikha. She was also a Muslim Tatar woman, just like Zuleikha. So we can say that this book is very much historically accurate and might also be a true story. Even if it is not a true story, we can say that Guzel Yakhina did her history research very well. 3 parts में divide करूँ तो I would say the first part and the last part were amazingly written. Book शुरू करते साथ ही आपकी attention इतनी मज़े से grasp हो जाती है that you feel like that you are Zuleikha. You want to just go get into the book and kill Murtaza for beating Zuleikha. You feel so sorry for Zuleikha, but at the same time you're angry at her, but not for not speaking up against Murtaza. So by the time you complete the book, you become very hopeful. The power that she has been given by the law and the choice that she has finally made to use that power in her favor. Middle part of the book was really a put off for me. मुझे इस किताब को ख़त्म करने में बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम लगा and I thought that maybe it's just my personal reading momentum that has gone down और मेरी जो attention span ख़त्म हो जा रहा है जो मैं read नहीं कर पा रही. But when I read the Goodreads review, everyone felt the same. part of the book थोड़ा सा ड्रैग किया गया है. जो उनकी ट्रेन की जर्नी है बहुत ड्रैग करके बताई गई है which could have been precise, जिसकी वजह से बुक ऑलरेडी बहुत कमाल है, इससे 2 times कमाल हो सकती थी. But I guess it is okay because if the end is well, all is well. टाइटल की अगर बात करें, Zuleikha does not really do the justice about the context of the book because the story is not just about Zuleikha. Originally इसका नाम है Zuleikha opens her eyes. I do not know why in this translation it is just Zuleikha. Throughout the book, Guzel Yakhina ने different characters की story provide की, and that too in the first person pronouns. So it is not just about Zuleikha. It is about few other exiles. There was this doctor and there is this painter and then there is this commander Ignatov who is the in charge of these exiles, who by the way is my favorite character of this book. मुझे पर्सनली ऐसा लगा कि बुक का नाम सिर्फ जुलेखा नहीं होना चाहिए था. It should have been more like exiles or the journey of exiles or the journey of survival. There are some things that are left unsaid. Maybe Guzel thinks that the reader is intelligent and he or she can interpret the things in their own way. Yes, in the end it does not matter because the message that this book has given us is much more than the writing itself. कि जिंदगी कैसे गुजारनी चाहिए जब आपको लग रहा हो कि on the very next moment you might just die. How to express your feelings completely and entirely. To be vulnerable and to be bare with yourself. To accept yourself just the way you are. Most importantly, to let someone you deeply love go on with their lives because you know that is important for them. Hope कि अगर आपने सारी जिंदगी भी लोगों पे जुल्म ढाए हैं, you can forgive yourself and change yourself for the better, and you can create love in your heart. Book is a great recommendation to the people who like historic fiction, adventure, and survival. After reading this book, I'm very much interested in reading more of the Russian literature and to know more about the Russian history. Now, if you have read this book or any other book from the Russian literature.